So, in Chinua Achebe's amazing short story, Civil Peace, the war is over, right? But the real fight, the fight to survive, that's just getting started. We're going to dive into this really powerful story about what it means to be resilient, especially after something as devastating as the Nigerian Civil War.
You know, this was the go-to greeting right after the war, but it's so much more than just a simple hello. Think about it. When your entire world has been turned upside down by war, just being alive, that's a huge victory. So big, in fact, that people literally turned it into a cheer. It just perfectly sets the scene, right? This feeling of hope, but also, how fragile everything was.
All right, so let's meet our main guy, Jonathan Iwegbu. He's kind of our guide through this whole post-war landscape, and honestly, he is the definition of an optimist. I mean, after everything he's been through, he doesn't focus on what he lost. Nope. He focuses on what he has, and he calls it his treasury of miracles. So what are his greatest blessings? Is it money? Possessions? Not even close. It's these 5 inestimable treasures, as he calls them. His own life, his wife Maria's life, and the lives of 3 of their 4 kids. Right from the get-go, that tells you everything you need to know about what this man values.
Okay, so then we get to his first material miracle. And what is it? His old bicycle. Such a cool little story here. He actually saved it from a soldier during the war by burying it. But here's the best part. The second he digs it up, he's not just celebrating, he immediately turns it into a taxi service. That just shows you how resourceful he is, how driven he is to rebuild his life from the ground up.
And whenever something good happens, this is what he says. Nothing puzzles God. It's a line you're going to hear a few times, so really pay attention to it. At this point in the story, it really just shows his incredible faith. Like, no matter how chaotic things get, he believes it's all going to work out in the end. And trust me, the meaning of this phrase, it gets even deeper as we go on.
So Jonathan's lucky streak isn't over yet. He heads back to his hometown, Enugu, and you're not going to believe it, another miracle. Everything around is destroyed, but his small house, it's still standing. I mean, talk about an unbelievable stroke of luck. You can just feel his total shock and gratitude.
And look at this contrast. It's amazing. Right next door, this huge, expensive house built by a wealthy contractor, it's just a mountain of rubble. But Jonathan's little house, made of mud blocks, it's totally fine. The story literally says he rubbed his eyes and looked again. It's the perfect way to show just how stunned he is, how he can barely believe his own luck.
And this is what I love about this family. They don't just sit around counting their miracles, no way. They get to work, like immediately. The whole family pitches in. Jonathan's got his bicycle taxi, the kids are out there selling mangoes, his wife Maria is making and selling these breakfast treats called akara balls, and they even open up a little bar for soldiers. Everyone is doing their part to rebuild, piece by piece.
Okay, so the family's hard work is paying off. They're finding some stability. But then something new happens. There's this chance to get a pretty big chunk of money from the government.
So here's the deal. The government said if you turned in money from the old rebel state, Biafra, they'd give you new money. And the official name for this payment was ex gratia. It's a Latin term that basically means from grace or as a favor. The idea was that this was a gift, not something the government was legally required to do.
But come on, who's going to walk around saying ex gratia? Most people couldn't even pronounce it, so they did what people do. They turned it into something that sounded familiar, and that's how it became known as the egg rasher. It's a great little detail that shows how formal government stuff gets turned into everyday street talk.
So after waiting in line for days, Jonathan finally gets his 20 pounds. But getting the money is only half the battle. This so-called windfall puts a giant target on your back. And this quote here, wow, it paints a really vivid picture of just how dangerous things were. A guy gets his money and is robbed instantly, in broad daylight in the middle of a huge crowd. It just goes to show you that robberies, even violence, had become a totally normal part of life.
All right, so that night, Jonathan has his 20 pounds. He's feeling good. But his optimism, his faith, it's all about to be put to the ultimate test. Because in the middle of the night, there's a knock at the door. And it's not a friendly one.
And this is what they hear from the other side of the door. It's a Nigerian pidgin, which was spoken a lot there, and it basically means it's a thief and his crew. Open the door. It's so chilling because it's so casual. It's not a question, it's a command. And just like that, the main conflict of the story is right there, knocking on his door. So what does the family do? They start screaming for help, for the police, for their neighbors, anybody. And the thieves? They just laugh. They actually start yelling along with them, mocking them. Police-o! Thief-man-o! It's a truly terrifying moment because it shows you that law and order is completely collapsed. These guys have zero fear of getting caught.
And then the leader of the thieves says this. It's probably the most important line in the story. No civil war again. This time, nest civil peace. He's taking the idea of peace and completely twisting it. To him, civil peace doesn't mean safety or law. It means the exact opposite. It's a time when there are no soldiers, no police, no one to stop criminals like him.
So this really makes you stop and think, right? What does the title, Civil Peace, actually mean? For the thieves, it's pretty clear. It's not about harmony. It's about a lawless free-for-all, where anyone with a gun can take whatever they want. Well, after a terrifying back and forth, with the thieves firing their guns just to scare them, Jonathan knows he has no choice. He has to give them the money. All of it. The entire 20-pound egg rasher is gone.
So the horrible night is finally over. But really, the most amazing part of the story isn't the robbery itself. It's what happens the very next morning.
So the neighbors all come by to offer their sympathy, and what they find is just unbelievable. They don't find a family sitting there in despair. Not at all. They find a family that's already back to work. Jonathan's getting his bike ready. Maria is already frying up those Akara balls. Their son is cleaning bottles for their little bar. They are just moving on, not wasting a single second on what they lost.
And when his neighbors ask him about the robbery, this is what he says. I count it as nothing. Can you believe that? He just brushes it off like the money meant nothing. After everything that just happened, that response is just, wow, it's stunning.
And this right here, this quote explains his entire mindset. This is why he gets right back to work. His strength, his resilience, it doesn't come from some lucky handout, it comes from hard work. He's basically saying, what was that egg rasher anyway? I didn't have it last week, I didn't depend on it. To him, it was just extra. It came and it went, and he lets it go, just like he had to let go of so many other things during the war.
And he ends with that same phrase again, nothing puzzles God. But listen to it now. It feels different, doesn't it? It's deeper. It's not just about hoping for good things anymore. It feels more like a deep acceptance, a belief that everything happens for a reason. Both the good things, the miracles, like his house surviving, and the terrible things, like the robbery. It's all part of a bigger picture that we just can't understand.
And that's really the question the story leaves us with, isn't it? When you can lose everything in a heartbeat, what's really worth holding on to? Civil peace seems to suggest that money, possessions, all that stuff is temporary. It can vanish in an instant. But the things that truly last, the things that are really worth keeping, that's your family, your willingness to work hard, and your faith to get you through it all.